What are they getting? Everything out of me. They gonna get a Super Bowl out of me. Need that. Need that.
All right, welcome on back to another edition of the Baltimore Beatdown podcast. It's Monday night, July 11th, 7-Eleven. That's like a thing, right? 7-Eleven day. There's some
free Slurpee day.
Free Slurpee. Did you get one?
I didn't. I haven't had a Slurpee in maybe college. Before that,
I also feel like it's kind of a racket too, where it's like they give you the not like a sample size one, but like a really small one. And it's kind of like, all right, why did I just go out of my way to go to a 7-Eleven on Reisterstown Road that's maybe, a couple people down on their luck and whatever else is going on around here. I don't know if I need to be in this area, but yeah, I guess we can jump right into it. So my name is Jake Luke, as you might know, and I am joined on my screen not by Spencer Nathaniel Schultz, who is just 2 sheets to the wind, just down at the beach again, just beach Spenny striking on his birthday week, just having himself a grand old time. And he was supposed to be on here with me and our guest tonight, whose voice you just heard. But, he's, again, he's not in any condition to appear in front of a camera for what he's liable to say. So it's Eric RDT joining the show. How's it going, pal?
It's going. It's been one of the more fun weeks in recent memory, just again, because of this. And we talked about it off air, but just this run that the Orioles are on. I mean, it's every night. It's something. They're doing something. They're coming back from, 4 straight hits with 2 outs and 2 strikes to come back and win. It's been remarkable. Again, they're playing their best baseball in years, and it's just been so much fun to watch. And again, combine that with me being at the beach and on vacation last week, and it was a wonderful week. It was a lot of fun, and I hope it turns into a wonderful month.
Yeah, hopefully it will. I mean, that is something that we did talk about a little bit. We've been talking about kind of intermittently throughout the season, just texting back and forth occasionally, just about the state of things. And there are certainly things that are still kind of going on in the background with the organization that maybe feel a little shady at times and this and that. But it just feels like this past week in particular, and maybe the past 2 weeks, where they've just felt like a legitimate, competent baseball organization that is capable of going out and winning on any given day. And that is not something that has been a given for the past 3 years. And as a big fan of the Orioles, I'm definitely a little bit more casual than you and some of the other people in the Orioles circle on Twitter. That's just a great feeling, because I do like to check in, and I do like to follow them when I can. I've had well-documented issues doing so because our television provider of choice in my house has decided to feud with Masson for the past 2 years, which has been sick. So I've had to stream them and everything, and it's just been a rocky road. But I guess we can start there. I mean, we kind of have to, I guess, start things off because we only get you on every now and again, and I don't know if we've ever really done an Orioles-centric episode. So why don't you explain to maybe the uninitiated just who you are, your connection to the Orioles, and what brings you here?
Yeah, I mean, again, always a pleasure joining you. And when it's not an Oriole or a Titans-Ravens playoff game, which is always very contentious,
very surreptitious that worked out twice, 2 years in a row. And I guess we both got our shots in on each other on that, but we always managed to keep those friendly, which I'm proud of.
Yeah, and again, it's always more. I always feel like it's kind of my back against the wall in terms of me and everyone who follows me and supports me on Twitter the other half of the year. So yeah, it's nice to have everyone on my side, for this one. But yeah, I'm the Barstool Orioles / MLB guy. I've been doing it for this at Barstool. I think I've been there. This is going to be my 8th year. But I've been blogging about the Orioles basically since 2013. So I've seen it all. Again, I've seen I started blogging, I guess, later in 2012, that wild card run. Saw the 2014 team, saw the 2016 wild card game. I've seen collapses and rebuilds, and Manny's torn ACL or his jacked up knee. Again, trading everyone and their mother for nothing in return, it seems like. But again, it's been a long road to me convincing, not me, but a group of fans trying to convince the other group of fans, hey, this is going to turn around eventually. And for whatever reason, it seemed like there was a big anti-Mike Elias crowd on Twitter. I mean, I was told literally that he was only signed to lower the value or to make sure the team doesn't win so they could sell it easy. And like someone was told that they told me that they actually believed that that was the case. So again, it's just I'm always been a pretty positive guy. I'm not a big like again, I mean, I don't know why people are openly rooting against or were openly rooting against their team and their GM. But again, it seems like that's all kind of shut up, and now we're all kind of one big happy family singing "Kumbaya," just watching the Orioles rip off wins.
Yeah, you hit on a lot there. I mean, you mentioned like going all the way back to the beginnings of the Buck era there with that wild card win or like the series against the Yankees. And I remember seeing I actually recently saw a photo of Bieber cut Jake back in those days. Finally getting excited about the Orioles for really the first time of his life of my life as somebody born in 95, and then obviously you get the run in 2014. I was at the Manny knee game. That was quite a drunk experience. And then speaking of that, the 2016 wild card game, I remember that vividly, sitting at the bar at Brew River in Salisbury, and just how quickly that whole sequence happened. It felt like the Billy Cundiff field goal kind of sequence situation. So
yeah, that's a good comparison to it.
Eerily similar. And then now you're talking about like this dichotomy of what's going on between the people who have these conspiracy theories about Elias, some people who I have great affection for on Twitter, and I love their steadfastness and how much they actually believe that stuff. I appreciate it. I don't have to deal with it in the same way that you do, so I get to have a little bit of distance with it and just sort of chuckle along. But it's a weird dichotomy, and like there's a larger discussion, I guess, that really centers around all the happiness that we're experiencing right now as fans, because like it has been born out of a lot of chaos and a lot of deliberately placed chaos, where it's like they hired Elias, and you and I talked a couple months back about Astro Ball and like reading that book and about how they very deliberately like came over from St. Louis, Elias, and under Jeff Lunau, and they tore down the Astros and they made their fans suffer for many years. And I remember when they first made that hire, I read that book deliberately at the recommendation of our friend Matt Pine, and I was like, all right, well, here's a plan in place. It doesn't feel like they're kind of scrapping to put together the most competitive team they can, and like trying to do what they have to do just to keep pace with the Yankees and just to sneak into the playoffs and just to see what they can do. Feels like they're actually very deliberately setting out a 3 to 5 year situation, which we're starting to kind of see the beginnings of the fruit bearing there, which, I guess this is all a long-winded way of saying is like what has been your relationship with Elias, and like just how has that sort of developed over the past 3 years? Because even you, a very positive guy, I have to imagine that's sort of rocky at certain points.
Oh, for sure. I mean, even as recent as this offseason where they, Jordan Lyles was their big free agent guy. And it's like this, I just remember being like, this can't be it. And especially after John Means went down, 5 games into the season, I remember tweeting like, hey, this is on Elias, because again, they signed Jordan Lyles and that was it. We had no idea when Grayson would ever come up. And again, we're still kind of wondering that injury makes it very complex. Same thing, GL, we're like, we don't know about him. And it kind of, again, that was a week into the season and we're going, what the hell are they going to do about their starters? So yeah, I mean, again, as recently as 2 months ago, I was kind of questioning some of the stuff that they've done. Again, I've shut up about that because these guys are pitching great. And again, can that last forever? Probably not. Is it going to crash and burn? I don't know about crash and burn, but they can't keep this up forever. But you're going back to the Astro Ball, and yeah, we talked about it a while ago. And it's funny because I bought the book, I believe, right before the whole cheating scandal came out, and I hadn't started it yet. And then
we were talking about it. I was like, yeah, I guess that's maybe colored a little bit differently by recent events now. But
I just, for some reason, again, I was like, I was never like this is bad for baseball. I was kind of just like, yeah, sure, they cheated. Like, and again, I'm sure other teams have done similar stuff. They just haven't been caught. But I wasn't like, I'm throwing this out. This disgusts me. Like I never got around to reading it. But again, reading and hearing everything about Elias when they signed him, like you said, it seemed like, again, he's done it before. It's worked before. It's a proven thing. Like, it has worked. They've won championships. Whether they're legitimate or not, they had the talent there. They were arguably the best team, even if they don't have trash cans and buzzers and whatever replay rooms, whatever you want to say. Pound for pound, they're probably the best team in baseball. Those years, even the years that they lost to the Nats, which again, Elias wasn't there for that. I don't think that he was there. But again, like his fingerprints are still all over that team. And again, I mean, they're still there. But I, like you said, I think it was very clear cut. Like this guy knew what he was doing coming in. Again, Sig Mejdal, same thing. They know what they're doing. They had this plan in place. And I get why people are very upset because we're used to. I mean, we saw it just with the Ravens a couple years ago. Everything was kind of up in the air with the Flacco injury. They throw Lamar in, and you have success right away. And it's like this is it. This is what we wanted. And baseball is so different than other sports. It's different than NBA and NHL and the NFL because you make a first round pick, you make a 1-1 overall, like the Orioles are going to do next week. You're not seeing that guy for 2 or 3 years, like minimum. NFL, if your first pick is not starting right away, it's like, all right, what the hell's going on? What's up with this? Because we're all just, I want my success and I want it now. I can't, I don't want to be patient. Again, we saw it with Lamar. His first, I mean, that was it, the 2019 season. You didn't have to wait 3 minutes before he's bombing at the Hollywood, and everyone's like, this is it. This is all I want. So again, I get it. Baseball is just such a different sport, and it's hard for people to sit back and wait because again, it's a long burn. You don't just turn over a roster right away and get these prospects up and going right away. Like I remember 2 years ago when people are like, you got to bring Grayson up right now. And it's like, no, you don't. It's 2020. You're not going to bring, and there are people who just don't understand that. Like I talked to someone once who asked me, why would you draft a high school pitcher if you don't think he can start for you right away in the MLB? And it's like, that makes no sense. You're not going to draft a high school like that. That doesn't happen. It's never going to happen. So again, I got why people were upset, but like you've laid out and other people have laid out plenty of times, there was a plan all along. And again, it was like, they're going to put stock in the draft. They're going to do the international signings, which they've done. They're building, this complex down there, and it's going to be unreal. And it's, this is going to suck for, like you said, 3 to 5 years. And I mean, again, you've seen it. We've all seen it. It sucked. Like 2018 was horrible. 2019 was horrible. 2020 was a horrible year. And
2018 also, they were trying in 2018, which is like really people forget about that. Like it started the year after that. And like they actually tried to field a competitive team and they were just that bad, like on par with the other years that they were actually rebuilding.
Absolutely. Again, that was a team, like you said, I think they had the best record in baseball at the end of May. And then they just nosedived like I've never seen before. And again, I mean, and I was thinking about that last night. It was like a team with Adam Jones and Chris Davis and Manny Machado and Jonathan Scope and a young Trey Mancini. And there's a ton of those guys. They never won 8 in a row. And then it's like you look at, I mean, and again, there's a ton of teams that never won 8 in a row. There's any of the teams with O'Day and Markakis and Nelly Cruz and Trumbo and all those guys, like they never won 8 in a row. This team of the ragtag, like maybe there is something here. Like they're out here winning 8 in a row, again, something they haven't done since 2005. But again, I guess long story short, I was always like, hey, they picked Elias. I think he knows what he's doing. Even going back to the wall, people are like, what is he doing moving the wall back? It's like he didn't just wake up one morning and is like, you know what? We're gonna push that sucker back. Let's just push it back just for shits and gigs. Let's just have fun with it. It's like, no, he came out with like hey, here's how many home runs, that would have been lost by our pitchers. And
it was, what it was.
ERAs and stuff like that. Like, again, especially when he came out and was like, listen, 9 of our top 10 hitting prospects are lefty or switch hitters. Like, that's going to benefit us. It's like, yeah, see, he didn't just wake up and pull an idea out of his ass and be like, hey,
that's all. All that stuff is all Sig. Like he literally has a computer that like tells him this kind of shit that he doesn't even think of. Like, and that goes back to the book. Like he had it, like they called it the nerd cave in Houston. Like it was like him and the boys just like chilling, like literally like the Jonah Hill character in Moneyball. It's like it's cliche to even like talk about that kind of stuff, but that's very realistically like how some of this stuff happens.
I believe it. Again, I mean, I've never met Sig. I was sitting with a fiance of a player. And he walked right by and she said, hey, Sig. And he said, hey, how are you? And I was just like, oh my God, he's right there. Like, that's the smartest man in the ballpark. He's probably the smartest man in the state of Maryland. Like, he's just right there. And yeah, again, I mean, all the credit to him. I think the Mets were interested in him in this offseason, I think. And that's when I was kind of like nervous too, because I'm like, project isn't done yet. Like, I don't want to see, arguably the main guy, one of the main guys, leave this project when it's not all the way done. So I'm happy he stuck around. And again, I think everyone is kind of like, it's just one big exhale. Like, see, guys, it's working. Like you said, we're seeing the fruits of our labor. It's like you planted these seeds a while ago, and these flowers don't bloom overnight. It's going to take some watering. It's going to take some sunlight. And like, all right, now we're starting to see them pop up. And guess what? Like, there's some big flowers. There's some pretty flowers. They're going to work.
Yeah, I agree. And it's something that it's very easy to forget amidst your emotion. And like, if you're more of an Orioles fan than you're a Ravens fan, which I'm not, I can understand getting more like worked up about it. But I remember Mike's press conference very vividly when he first got hired. He went out there and he said, like, this is going to be a long process. Like, there are no shortcuts. And especially when you're in a small town, small market. And I remember sitting there like, you know what, like that kind of sucks that I'm not going to be able to see competitive baseball for a while, but at least there is a plan. And at least this guy seems like he's smart and he knows what he's doing, and he's going to bring in smart people that are going to help him facilitate all that. And yeah, I mean, up to this point, we don't have to count our chickens quite yet. There's still a game under 500 approaching the All-Star break, but like that's way better than a lot of people thought they would do even this year. What do you make of like and I know you have your fun, like kind of doing the catnip social media engagement thing, but what do you make of like the Buster only stuff these days? Like, are we kicking a dead horse at this point?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think we are absolutely like we're doing pile drivers off the turnbuckle on this dead horse. I again, like I think I was upset. I was as upset as anyone when he was doing the stuff about Adley and all that. And
the Messina thing was a disgrace. Like that's he knows what he's doing with that.
Oh, 100%. And I think that was, again, I think he knew, and I know that he knows now that he's playing the villain with this town, the fan base, whatever. Because again, it used to be John Heyman. I was gung ho and like, screw John Heyman, that dude's a clown. And then again, it turned to what's his name? Why can't Rosenthal? Then it was Rosenthal for a while. And then that kind of died down. And then Buster kind of just took it by the reins. And again, maybe he's using us for engagement. Maybe we're helping, put money in his pocket with all these likes and stuff like that. And he's getting sponsored by whoever and he's getting paid for it. But I think the Orioles were very low hanging fruit. I think it was very easy to pick on them. And again, and to their point, they weren't necessarily wrong. Like, it was at some points bad for baseball. Like, it was very bad. It was boring.
Sorry to cut you off, but like, I don't think he's wrong at all. Like I don't even think he's like necessarily he's personal with it now, but I don't even think he was personal against the Orioles with it. He was like talking more to MLB, like, hey, you got to like do some competitive balance stuff here, which I totally agree with. And you got to figure out how to like get your product in front of young kids. And you got to figure out a way to like get young kids interested in this thing, because like it's in some respects it's going nowhere fast, and like you got to like start to make some hard sell changes. And competitive balance to me is like very much one of those things that I'm kind of on his side of it with. But yeah, it is kind of fun to always have like a little bit of like a totem pole that you can sort of latch onto and kind of whack the piñata. It's something that we do with like Lamar. Like like the thing that came out today about Lamar, it's like it's so easy to like tweet out like X stat or whatever and like dunk on someone and get 60 retweets out of it and a couple followers. But yeah, that's it. In this case, I think we're maybe overdoing it a little bit, but I understand why people want to have their fun.
Yeah, and again, I mean, I'm sure I like I said, I think he was having his fun with it and the low hanging fruit. But like you said, I mean, he had a lot of points and he made some good ones. I think people were more just annoyed with, because then again, you look at that article that he had where he's like, the Reds and the Athletics should look at the Astros rebuild and do that. It's like, so where would it's like, I think that's what we were more upset about. Is like, dude, you literally wrote an article saying that like teams should rebuild and do stuff like that. And then when the Orioles do it, they just happen to be very, very bad. But that's not good enough for that. That's the disgrace, but not. And again, it is still kind of weird. Teams like Oakland should be getting ripped to shreds right now. I'm not pissing and crying and moaning because they're trading off, anyone that they can. I mean, it's whatever. We've been there. I think it's strange that the Orioles were they were the redheaded stepchild just getting picked on over and over and over.
And he's got him and Rosenthal both have the Sun connection. So it's kind of.
And that was another thing. There's the Baltimore, tie-ins there. And, from the sounds of it, maybe the Angeleses don't treat everyone great. That may not be a shock,
including one another.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. But so yeah, maybe they do have an axe to grind, and if they do, I don't blame them. I mean, again, I'm sure they know where some of the bodies are buried too. So if they're not releasing them, it's whatever. But again, it's a very easy target, like you said, a lot of easy retweets and likes, and I have kind of backed off. Our intern on the Twitter page on Exit 52 is still going a little crazy on him, but hey, to each their own.
When is he going to get full-time status, by the way? I feel like you guys are kind of exploiting a little bit of youthful labor at this point.
It's the summer, so we can't really count on him. We don't know where he is. He's either golfing or he's at some bar playing golden tea every other night. I'm sure you've been out at a bar with him at some point. So
yeah, I think
we don't know yet.
He and I might have taken it deep at Secrets a time or two. But yeah, I mean, I guess we've touched on a lot of the bigger picture stuff. I guess this one is still a little bit of a bigger picture one too. But I was following them at the time, but I don't know if I fully appreciated the Manny ascendance. How does Adley Mania, Rutch Mania kind of compare to Manny Mania? Because it feels like this feels pretty fucking big to me.
Manny Mania, man, I mean, that was more of like a I don't know. I mean, that's a good question because again, I think it was either the end of August. It had to be the end of August because it was the Orioles had. I mean, again, they were. I don't remember where they were in the standings. They were either a game or two behind the wild card. Again, winning record. Like it was like hey, this is something that's going to happen. Like they easily could make the playoffs right now. And again, they came out of nowhere that year in 2012. And just the fact that and I don't remember. And again, Twitter was such a different place. Blogs were such a different place. Facebook was so different. Like there was no, you got to bring Manny up. I like I said, I remember I had my phone. We had already got tickets to the game. I think me and my buddies got like 10 tickets in center field. It was Wei and Chen night the next day. And it was a Wei and Chen t-shirt night. So we got our tickets. I go to the movie theater. I'm going to see Dark Knight Rises, I think. It was 2012. So yeah, Dark Knight Rises, I believe. And I had my phone, off. I'm in the movie theater. And I turn my phone on after, and I see, I must have had 15 texts. And it was just like, Manny, blah, blah, blah. And again, there was no like Twitter campaign. We have to bring Manny up. We got to get him up here. Because again, I think he was 20 or 21 at the time. Like, I mean, he's Gunnar Henderson's age, I think. I think he was right around there. And when he came up, I mean, it was, again, we had already had our tickets to the game, so we were set. But I remember there being a lot of people there that night. Again, they were right in the thick of a wild card race. They were playing the Royals. And yeah, I mean, people were going crazy. And then obviously when he came up and had the success that he did, and we saw like, hey, you saw pretty soon, like, hey, this guy is going to be the real deal. Just the plays at third, the don't throw it away, don't throw it at all play. Just those, and again, that 2012 team, they were winning everything in extra innings. They were just so much fun to watch. So again, he just added to that. And Adley was kind of, again, when they came up, I think they were 16 and 24. So it was like, hey, this is a bad team. This is not very good. We'll see what it turns into. And then what are they, 29 and 20? I think since he's been up now. So they both injected life into them. It was kind of different because Manny had all those veterans around him. He had JJ Hardy to his left. He had Matt Wieters behind the plate. He had, Chris Davis. He had Adam Jones, all those guys. Adley has Trey, I guess Odor, Mountcastle, and none of them except for Trey are really those veterans on the team that have been there for a while. So it is kind of the same. I think that the Adley Mania, though, I think just because of social media, the buzz. I mean, that Saturday morning when I woke up, luckily, again, if you have a kid, you'll be up at 6:30, regardless if it's a Saturday or not. So I had been up a full hour and a half pretty much before. I
was on hold too at Timbers of Troy. So I was up and at him too. I grabbed my tickets right there and I went to the game. And to your point there about like the veterans thing, I think that's a really good point in that they're dropped into different situations, whereas it didn't feel that way probably in 2012, but Manny was kind of dropped into a contender and he helped kind of lift them to where they were going to go. It feels like Adley is really not being put onto a team that was built to be competitive. They are competitive. I think part of that is due to him. He feels like an elder statesman on this team, as weird as that is to say right now, like where the inning ends and he's like running up and like just patting his pitcher on the shoulder every single time. And like, he's not doing that for the camera. He's doing it every single time. Like, and it's just, there's a different energy about him. He's truly like, he reminds me of Lamar in that he's the kid. Like, he's the fucking kid, you know, like he's the best. And he's got the star quality to him that I think Manny very much had, but it does have a little bit of a different feeling where Manny was dropped into a situation where they were able to be competitive quickly. It feels like Adley is kind of going to be maybe part of the rising tide that's going to lift the boats here.
Yeah, again, I think the 2012 team, I think that boat was floating. They needed, like, they had Mark Reynolds playing third. They could never, they had Wilson Bedament, you know, for games and stuff like that. They didn't have that guy. And again, I think they said he played, like, I don't think he played any games. He may have played one game at third in Bowie, but they were like, he was taking ground balls every day at third, you know, when the press wasn't watching, when people weren't watching. So obviously Buck knew that was going to happen. But again, he came up because they needed a third baseman, and he was that guy. And like you said, Adley came up. I mean, obviously the social media, the reach, and the everyone wanted him. But yeah, it's not like he didn't come up. He wasn't that missing puzzle piece. You know, he's a corner piece that, like you said, that you know, lifts everyone else up. And I mean, again, to the casual fan who may not have known that he goes up and, you know, daps up the pitcher, gives him a hug or whatever. That's the thing that you're like, holy crap, like this is, and people, because I read that, you know, he did it in high school, he did it in college, he did it all over. And people had said, like, I don't know if that's going to play at the major league level. You know, I mean, could you, if you're on a team with Max Scherzer, you're going to go up and like give him a hug after the, you know, he's the
24-year-old kid, and you're going to go do that to, like, and it's funny, like, even like visually, it is like a striking thing sometimes where he's doing it with, like, Felix Bautista, who's like dwarfing him, and it's like culturally, like, there's not much of a connective tissue there where Felix and him are obviously from very different backgrounds, but it just plays very well. I think it kind of promotes a real, like, kind of chemistry, which is very important in baseball.
Oh, 100%. And I mean, you remember when he came up, him and Perez were doing it, and they're like legitimately like chest bumping and like loving it. And it's like, again, Perez was a waiver claim, I think, in December. How many times did he throw to Adley in you know, spring training? Probably not much. I wouldn't think so, at least. But yeah, again, you see, like you said, their camaraderie. They're like, they were loving it. And same thing. I mean, watching him and Jorge after the games too has been great. Watching just, again, him and all the pitchers. It's so much fun to watch. And then you see him with Kramer and, you know, Kyle Bradish when he was up, and a lot of the guys who that they knew each other from Bowie and Norfolk. I loved seeing that. But yeah, it's crazy to think that something that small and kind of just minute. I mean, that shouldn't have any effect on Major League Baseball, but it legitimately seems like it does. Like, I don't know if it's just a confidence booster for the pitchers or what, but I don't know what it is, but it's doing something, and it's helping. I guess it seems like the pitching staff. You know, I love it though.
It really gives them a face too. I think it gives the club a face. It gives you an identity to really, like, get behind weirdly. And like maybe we're talking it up a little bit much at this point, but like it really does, like it makes me feel things about the team in a way that I hadn't for a long time. I got to give a shout out to our guy Jordan, who's always really funny with the Orioles memes and stuff. And he was doing like this. He does like this funny like bit about like gatekeeping people who weren't watching them when they were rebuilding. And he like tweeted out a picture of like Asher Wojciechowski, I think it was, the other day. And it's like, dude, I can't remember like half of those guys, but like I feel like I'm going to remember like every single guy that played for the team this year, partially because of things like that.
Yeah, again, I mean, there's been a lot of memorable pictures, moments, whatever. Again, memes, graphics. I mean, they're all out there because, again, it's like I can remember him chest bumping Bautista and Perez and all these guys. And yeah, I mean, it helps remember them. I don't know. Again, it's just, and again, it's just showing them having fun. Like you didn't see this last year. Like you didn't see this 2 years ago. So to see that out there, yeah, I mean, he's changed a lot of things for the better, and I think that's a lot. Because again, you read the scouting report, and all you saw was like great leader, and it's like, well, okay, how do you judge that? And then now you see it, and you're like, yeah, there it is. That's it. Like that's 100% what they're talking about. And again, it worked all throughout high school, college. It's got him here. So yeah, he must be doing something right.
Yeah, I mean, you've gotten to know him a little bit too. I mean, like not on a super personal level or anything, but you've met him. You guys have interviewed him on your pod. I think just the one time, right? And that was that was a great interview. And he just seems like absolutely 100% like that guy in every sense of the word. And like, it feels like they're all closer because of it. It feels like I don't know if we see them like out on the boats in Chicago today on the river, like the canal, for example, like doing what they're doing. And maybe that's just me projecting a bit, but like, I don't know if like they weren't having this team success, which I think he's a big part of them having. I don't know if we're seeing them have the type of chemistry that they are this year.
I didn't see Anthony Bemboom, again, out at 1 star celebrating with the guys and stuff like that. And again, I know that some of the veterans on the team have told some of the younger guys, like, hey, go out in the city, have fun, like get out there and meet the fans and do stuff like that. Because again, it ingrains you into the city. We've all seen Trey out at Wayward or 1 star, couple nights, every month.
Trey and CJ and the boys back in the day.
Exactly. And again, it's like it helps you be like, yeah, that's cool. Like you root for them a little harder. It's definitely a lot cooler. And yeah, I mean, like you said, it just seems like they're having a lot of fun. I was rolling, clicking through Instagram stories today, seeing Adley jump off the pier onto the boat, and Bautista and Odor. Like Odor's holding it looked like a Jaeger bottle in that group picture. And yeah, it's just like you. And again, it may be again, we've heard it all. Winning cures all. Again, they're not technically a winning team yet, but who's having more fun than this group right now? It's like the Mariners, who have won 8 in a row, and the Orioles, and that's about it. It's again, I mean, everything about the team has changed, and I mean, it could have gone. It also come to think that like there are 2 Jorge Lopez blown saves away from this being a 10-game winning streak already. Like they could have been super on fire, over 500.
Yeah, and he's their all-star player too. I mean, that's like it's kind of funny how that all works out. And like, I'm glad you mentioned a guy like Odor, who like you talk about another thing where people were like looking at that, and it's like, okay, like that's a move that we're making, really, Mike. Like that's the big move, but you got to think Sig's computer probably saw something in him and said like, this is a guy that's going to be able to be productive. And if nothing else, he's been solid and on defense, and he's been one of the clutchest hitters I can remember in like many years watching this team.
Absolutely, and even when he's bound for a mistake or two a game. I mean, we saw it. What was that last game against who was it? Texas, when he kind of lollygags on that throw in the 9th, doesn't make the throw. Next batter is Seager, hits 2-run home run. So the Orioles are down 1 instead of tied, and then he hits the tying home run, and obviously they come back and win. And yeah, I mean, whenever they need a big hit, he's getting it. And again, it's the veteran in him. He's the one that started the home run chain. I've been told that he is the man in the clubhouse. Like he's turning the music on. He's getting everyone fired up. He's having fun. And it's like, again, you need a guy like that in your clubhouse, in your locker room, again, especially with a lot of guys in a locker room that's kind of a rotating cast where you don't have these mainstay 8 or 9 year guys. You got a lot of guys coming up for the first time wide-eyed, like, oh man, what do I do? How do I act in a locker room? It seems like he's really taken guys under his wing, or just taken almost the whole team under his wing, and just been like, hey, we're going to have fun. And you know what? Like, we're going to win on the way. And yeah, I mean, I was at the game when he hit the walk-off home run against the Rays, and it was, I mean, he's been a nice breath of fresh air at times. He's been kind of frustrating because, again, he's not going to hit 250. He's going to hit closer to 200 than that. But he's good. He's got pop. He's a lot of fun to watch. And again, if there's a fight, he's going to be the first guy out there. We saw that in Chicago when they had to hold him back. But yeah, and again, like you said, that was kind of a move where it's like, all right, I guess he's up until, Vavra comes up, or Gunnar or Jordan Westberg. And then you DFA him. And in 4 years, when Jordan tweets out, like, you remember when Rougned Odor was on the Orioles? You're like, oh, that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah, that was a wild 2 months, right?
Yeah, definitely. That's an interesting way of putting it. And it kind of reminds me weirdly of like when Tommy Hunter was like a big voice of like those Buck teams. And it's like, really, Tommy Hunter is like one of those guys in the clubhouse. And it's like, it's one of those things you're not totally privy to, but it is pretty important. And I think you hit on some things there that I guess we should touch on, which is like, we're talking about how much fun they're having, but I mean, the reality is they're a game back of 500. They're 2 games back of the wild card right now. I mean, what's the reality with this team? What does your gut tell you they're going to do the rest of the year, and what's going to happen at the deadline? I think I'm pretty much safely assuming that Trey is going to remain with them, but you can probably speak to that more than me.
I mean, I have no idea. I was getting into it with my buddy Tyler online yesterday, because I want it like clear. Like I think Elias is going to stick to the plan. I don't think he's going to deviate at all. I don't think the Orioles are going to make the playoffs. As much as I tweet out like, oh, this, it's very easy to get caught up in that. But again, I don't think I think they're going to have a bad stretch of baseball. Again, they're going to lose 6 in a row. They may lose 5 in a row. They may bottom out and their starters have an ERA of 7. For an extended period of time, something like that. I don't. Again, they're not this good, but I don't think they're as bad as we thought they were going to be. But when it pertains to the trade deadline, I think if someone is looking at Trey and they offer, I know MLB Network posted something, or they talked about it last week, where like the Padres, if they want to move Blake Snell and a prospect for Trey, I think that's a trade you do. I think you have to. You got to again put everything kind of aside and you look at it like a business. I think if someone wants to overpay for him, you absolutely do it. If you're going to get a guy who's 22 years old, who's been in AA for 2 years, no, I know. I think you find. I just don't think the trade market for a guy like Trey is going to like blow you away. You're not going to get a package deal where you're getting 2 top 100 guys and another guy thrown in. It's just not. There's not a trade market out there for a half a year of a guy who is limited defensively and who has I think a relatively speaking, a good bat. I think he's a very good hitter. But again, that trade market that some people think is out there, they're like, you have to trade him no matter what. Like, why? Why you want to trade him just to say you traded him? Like, no, it's not how it works. And again, same thing with a guy like Mullins. I think if someone offers you 3 top 100 guys, again, they're stacked at the outfield position. I think that's a guy that they may look at moving if the package is right. If it's not right, I tell everyone to kick rocks and say, no, we're going to keep him. And you look to sign him to an extension, maybe. Again, you're not breaking the bank, but a decent extension. It just all depends on everyone. Santander, Odor, Jordan Lyles. I think if a team is willing to overpay and Elias thinks the compensation is right, I think he's going to do it. Will it suck? Yeah, it's really gonna suck ripping off the Band-Aid if some of those guys, get traded. I mean, Trey obviously, after his comments the other night, it's like, how can you trade him? It'll be very interesting though. I truly have no idea what they'll do. I would love if they gave him a 3 years, $35 million deal, something like that, like something to take care of him and keep him here, because the Orioles are still going to need a DH in the next couple of years. So I have no idea. And again, personally, I obviously want Trey to stay. I want him to be a lifelong Oriole. Will it happen? I got no clue. He may be getting traded right now. I have next to no idea. I just think if the package is right, Mike Elias will pull the trigger on basically anyone not named Adley Rutschman, who's on the major league roster right now. Maybe Mountcastle, maybe Hayes, some of those guys.
Yeah, and I think that makes sense. And I think I come at it from a perspective of it's not going to happen, because I lean more towards them not getting that compensation package. I think Mike would do it if the move was right. I just don't see any team clamoring to move those assets for Trey. You mentioned Mullins there, which I didn't even really think about, but yeah, that could be a guy that a contending team might want to pony up a bit for, which, yeah, I guess you consider it in that respect. But I'm kind of fine with the idea of just like standing pat and just like playing some competitive baseball, probably not making the playoffs, to your point. And then I guess that leads to this offseason, which I guess I'll throw the impossible question out there to you, is like, is this the year they start to make moves a little bit, do you think?
Yeah, I think it has to be. And I meant to look up like the free agent pitchers going into next year. I haven't looked at that yet. But it's, there's a lot of this has to be the year that they go out and spend money. And again, it doesn't have to be a Correa. It doesn't have to be someone like that, who, again, we had fun with. We had fun talking about that in the offseason. Oh, they're going to sign him. They're going to sign him. They never did, obviously.
They actually might sign him. Holy shit.
Yeah. And then
we're joking about it, and then it kind of got real for a second there. And
the DMs, there were the DMs from what's his name, Raul Ramos or whatever. Like, he still swears. So I'm like,
I believe him for what it's worth. I believe him. I believe he believes what he said.
I have no idea what to believe. But yeah, I think again, this has to be the year that they go out and get some free agent pitchers. You got to add, just a couple more guys, I think, because you have to think going into next year, Grayson Rodriguez should be your opening day starter. John Means will be back. June, maybe. Again, May. We've seen how they kind of bring guys back. It's very, very slow. You're going to have Gunnar Henderson up. I think next year. I think we could definitely see him next year. Jordan Westberg for sure. So again, like those are kind of the guys that like me, they're I think those are the guys that are going to be up. So that you may not have to sign a middle infielder. You may not have to sign a guy like Correa. I know there's a ton of shortstops out there. They're not going to sign a Trey Turner or anyone like that, but they have to sign. I think they got to start spending money. That or again, and even when I'm saying spending money, spend it on Austin Hayes, spend it on Ryan Mountcastle, spend it on Adley. If buy out those arbitration years and start building that core, laying down those bricks. I mean, again, we remember in 2012 when they signed Jones to that extension. So I think they got to start looking at those. Again, if they gave Hayes 5 years, $50 million right now, I think that would be great. I think that would be something. So they got to start spending. I think this is the offseason to do it.
Yeah, I get that you're a small market team. I get that it's tough to scrape together money relative to what these other bigger market teams with bigger purses are able to do. But eventually, like, you're just going to have to do it. Like, you're going to have to nut up and figure it out. And I don't know, like, what's going on with ownership right now. I guess we don't really have to like dwell on that too much. The brothers are, one of them is suing the other and everything like that with the Angeloses. So that's a whole weird kind of, F pie, as Kendall Roy would say, that we don't have to get into. But it's like, yeah, you talked about putting this process in place, and the end of the process is, guess what? You can't get around the fact that you're going to have to spend money. So they're going to have to do it one way or the other. And I like the idea of focusing on locking that core up. And yeah, just make some of those, little kind of savvy, not Odor type moves, but like something a little bit, of a higher level than that. That's not going to necessarily break the bank, but maybe you get a nice starting pitcher out of it. Maybe you get a nice, infielder, wherever you might need one. And you just kind of go from there. So yeah, I'm into that idea for this being the off season that they finally start to go ahead and spend. So I guess we can close you out here. What's the status on the farm system? You mentioned Grayson. Obviously, he's going to be a big part of this team next year. It sounds like his health is in a much better spot than we were maybe expecting as far as a couple weeks or months ago when that injury first happened to him. And then obviously guys like Gunnar, guys like DL Hall. What's the word with the baby birds?
I mean, they're just killing it. Like you said, Grayson had the MRIs that came back just extremely clean. It sounds like everything I've heard, it's saying the same thing. He's pretty fine, and I would be perfectly okay if he doesn't throw a pitch the rest of the year. I think if you want to give him the entire offseason to get healthy, rehab, do whatever he needs to do, and then again, I think give him that full spring training. You announce it, boom. Grayson Rodriguez and Adley Rutschman. That's your start. That is your opening day, battery right there. That's enough to get you fired up right there. Again, DL Hall, I think, is knocking on the door too. I think he had 14 strikeouts the other day, 35 swing and misses, which is like, that's insane. I mean, that number is crazy to think about. So again, he seems to be healthy, and like we've seen with Elias this year, he draws it out, and he doesn't overreact and pull guys up immediately. So we'll see how long it takes for him. I definitely expect to see him soon. Gunnar is something. I mean, there are people who are saying he may have the best bat, when he's a full-time player in the Orioles, like, which is going to say something, because I think he's that good too. I mean, he jumped from the 41st best prospect to the 36th, or I'm sorry, to 5th. He jumped up 36 spots, which is like, that's unbelievable. And there are people saying that if he starts the year next year in the minors, he'll be the number one player in the minors, which it's crazy to think. Again, Adley graduated last week from the prospect list. He's officially not a prospect anymore. And the Orioles still had 2 top 5 prospects. Like, it's awesome. It's an awesome sight to have. It's an awesome thing to just see. And then again, you got a guy like Jordan Westberg, who kind of, I wouldn't say came out of nowhere. He's a good baseball player. I just don't think people thought he was this good when they drafted him. I mean, that's the left side of the infield right there. Like, he's just a really, really good hitter. So he'll be fun to watch. And again, he's a little older, so they could get him up. You may see him soon. Same thing with a guy like Vavra. Same thing with a guy, Kobe Mayo is going to be a guy too that he's going to be on that list next year, that he's going to excite a lot of people. He's going to be a guy that makes people forget it, that the wall got pushed back. Because you'll say, wait, that ball is still 20 rows deep. How did he do that? I mean, he's Chris Bryant pretty much. He's a monster. I mean, and then again, Heston Kjerstad, who got the promotion to Aberdeen today, guy missed 2 years with a heart ailment, like a heart disease. And it looks like he missed 0 time at all, which is it's unbelievable. It's great that he's healthy. That's obviously the first thing. It's awesome that he's healthy and was able to resume baseball activities. But the fact that he is still mashing the ball, I think they said he hit 468 and like 98 at bats. I mean, it's unbelievable. I think again that goes to show why Elias felt fine going underslot and picking him at 2. Meanwhile, Austin, who's it? Austin Martin? What was the guy's name? Austin Martin, I think that's his name.
I think you're right.
Forgot about him.
Yep.
The guy that I wanted, that everyone wanted too, he's dropped out of the top 100. He's been horrible. So again, that seems like another great. Again, it's still way too early, but another good move by Elias. There's a lot more guys. It's not like this was just a farm system with Adley and Gunnar and Grayson and DL, and then that's it. Like there's still Kjerstad. There's a bunch of guys down in Bowie who are just mashing. So it's the guys are there. Again, it's not like this train stops next year. Like there's going to be guys in 2024 that come up. There's going to be guys in 2025 that come up. Oh, and then you mentioned that they have the #1 pick in the draft this Sunday. It's like, and I think I compared it to like the Pistons when I think they won the championship and then they turned around and had the #2 pick. Obviously they screwed that up picking Darko, but like they were a very good team. And then they added Darko, or they added the #2 pick, which is just, again, it's crazy. And that's, the Orioles are a talented team, and they're going to add another talented guy this Sunday. It just adds to another already loaded farm system. I like to think of it as like we used to go fishing at these hatcheries where they stock the ponds and, they know what fish are in there and they put some big fish in there. The Orioles are just loading up that pond with big fish and big fish and big fish and big fish. And it's like, they just keep pulling them out. And guess what? They put another big fish back in there. They pull one out, another big bass goes in there. So again, this is not a farm system that they're not going to go away anytime soon. And these guys they're getting older and better. And we're going to start seeing a lot of them, pretty soon.
Yeah, you got to appreciate Dan Duquette for like what he did, but this feels like such a far cry from where they were at the end of his tenure with all the guys that you just rattled off. It's insane.
Yeah, and again, that's not even talking about like Colton Cowser and Hudson Haskin and a bunch of those guys who were very good players. Again, Cowser was the 5th pick last year. He got off to a slow start. He's playing well in Bowie, but again, it's name after name after name after name. And the Orioles are at that point where they almost have a problem where they have too many prospects. But again, those are some of the guys that you can put together in a package, maybe for some pitchers.
Yeah, I mean, what did the Cubs do in 16 to deal for what's his face? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there you go. All right, man. Well, I think I've taken up just about enough of your time here on this Monday night, running almost an hour, a little over 45 minutes. So I really appreciate it, man. I think this was a great chat. Great to talk some O's on these airways. We don't always get to do that, so it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of fun. Again, seeing everyone getting into it. Spenny may be now a bigger Orioles fan than Ravens fan. I mean, he's cutting clips. He's going on TV. He's dropping the Downey Ocean.
Yeah, I think
he's doing it all.
I think he and I both like to get a nice reprieve from Ravens Twitter. I think that there are times where we just completely have to check out from it. I compared it to I don't know if you saw my tweet, but it's like being on Ravens Twitter is like you're on a message board of climate change deniers and climate change alarmists, like at the same time, and you're kind of like, what's going on here? And then like being like a member of Orioles Twitter is like maybe you're a little stoned or you're a little drunk in like an open mic night in like just this random part of town, and every act you don't really know any of them, but they're throwing 100 on the black the entire night. It's just the best. It's just pure joy right now. So it's great to kind of get away from the Ravens for a little bit, and like the Orioles providing that reprieve. I was missing them, and I didn't even really realize I was missing them. They were a big part of my life from 2012 through probably like 2017, 2018, and I just kind of, for a number of factors, not the least of which was that they were the worst team in baseball for a couple of years, I just fell off a little bit, and it feels great to have them back, and it was great talking about them with you. Yeah,
it's again, I mean, people say, and again, I'm far from a Ravens fan, but this town is buzzing when the Ravens are good. It's a lot. I think it hits different when the Orioles are good. And again, I'm not saying they're a good team right now because technically they're still under 500 in the last.
I mean, the fact that they're not and that people are buzzing like this, like, I'll prove your point.
That's the thing. It's like, dude, you're getting 35,000 at a game. I get it's a Hawaiian T-shirt giveaway game, but 35,000 at a game like that where they're standing up doing the Seven Nation Army, it's like, holy crap! Like there's something here. And again, I think it lends itself to like people they want the Orioles to be good. Obviously, it's just the town is different. There's something different when the Orioles are good and it's a 90-degree day and you're baking at the yard, facing just Coors Light and hot dogs. Like there's just something about it. So we got to get out there soon. I'm heartbroken that they're away for the next like couple weeks. Like this, it's an off day today, and I'm like, what the hell am I gonna do? Like watch replays of the game yesterday, I guess. So we'll just do that. So we got to get out to a game soon, and we'll mix it up out there and on Utah Street.
Yeah, man, I was out there on Sunday, and it was as fun of a game as I've been to since those peak Buck days. So that was amazing. Just watching them just cruise to a win. That was after the Trey walk-off, I believe, and they just went out there and they just made short work of the Angels. I don't even think they hit a ton of home runs. It was just putting balls in play, moving the runners, and just instant offense. It was great. A couple beers, just a stress-free experience watching them win the 8th game in the row. So we've talked about it at length, obviously, before we get you out of here. How about you go ahead and you do a podcast, you do some blogging yourself. So how about you go ahead and plug that in your social media, your iPad restricted social media before we get you rolling.
Yeah, I'm at EDITTI22 on Twitter, throwing out O's tweets at all hours of the night, every hour of the morning. And then blogs are on barstoolsports.com. And then the podcast Exit 52. Our group text for the podcast has been buzzing this last week too, because we're just like, this is what now I'm kind of, because again, it's been a while since they've been good. So I've seen Banks and Taylor, been going nuts, being like, I can't wait to record the podcast, and I'm like, sure, all right, let's do it. It's whatever, that the only week I had like that, I think was week 11, 2020. That overtime game, and
sure they were really excited to record after that.
Yeah, and when I chugged that beer right in Banks's face after throwing on the Derrick Henry jersey.
My boy Bry got the last laugh on that one.
Yeah, I'll allow that. But yeah, again, it's been a lot of fun. And yeah, the podcast we are. I can't give anything away, but we are trying to pull some strings to get a big fish, someone we talked about on this episode on Exit 52, and it'll be one that, if it happens, I would love for it to happen. I don't think it will, but we're gonna try and get a big fish on there and talk to him about the O's. So it'll be interesting. But yeah, it's fun time in Baltimore right now. So let's hope it keeps up.
Absolutely, let the good times roll. Thank you for joining, pal. Once again, always great to talk to you. So let's make it happen soon. Again, and let's get out to a ball game soon. You and me and all the fellas. That will be a great time.
Let's do it.
All right, later.
Where is the wise man? Where is the scholar? Where is the philosopher of this age? Get down! Baltimore!
What are they getting? Everything out of me. They gonna get a Super Bowl out of me. Believe that.